record one rapid game, and then we're gonna show our thought processes and the application of the basic principles. Okay, so let's begin. You would just open up with a pawn, we develop and control the center, and now we have put 2 pawns in the center, comfortably controlling all the squares in the center, and now we can just develop our knight to defend our pawn. He still doesn't have very adequate control over the center, and right now we're just dominating. This is one of the more modern ways to play because this bishop becomes a sniper in the center and it controls the center from a distance. But right now the knight blocks the bishop, so that doesn't do anything. So we're going to develop our own bishop with ideas of attacking the f-pawn. And now we'll also castle. He can play this move, which we unfortunately blundered because there's this. But at the same time we just take, and he is up a pawn. Actually no, he's not up a pawn, so yeah. And now we kick this queen out with a tempo, so it's back to normal. Then we're going to develop this bishop. He goes here, I'm not quite sure what the idea of which is. It might be to bring the bishop here, and then if here he has something, but I don't really see any ideas there. So I'm just going to play here. And if he tries to sack the bishop, he's actually losing because that sacrifice doesn't work. And then we'll just develop our own bishop here, and then we can always bring it back with the king. And then now we will try to develop our queen, right? So now we attack this pawn and develop our queen at the same time with a tempo. He has to defend with the rook or move the pawn forward, which blocks his light squared bishop. So probably the best move here is for him to move his rook and defend. Yep. Then we can develop our own rook here with ideas of pushing. This is an interesting move, which I think the idea is to go here, but I'm not quite sure either. Or it could be to try and sacrifice for something with this knight, but that doesn't work, so we're completely fine. He's going to develop this bishop next, so I want to already quickly just come up with some ideas or methods to start attacking. But it doesn't really look like we have anything here at the moment. So I think we'll just develop our rooks to the center and just take absolute control of the center, right? And this should be pretty fine. And then we're gonna slowly like ask questions in the position. We're gonna like poke holes here and there and try to find a way to gain an advantage and win. So again, this knight move is a thing, but after takes and then after like this, because if he takes to the pawn after this, then this bishop is just useless and it's blocked in by the wall of pawns. And if he takes with the queen, then we can still go for the same thing, and you're still blocked by the wall of pawns. So this bishop becomes absolutely useless. Yeah, it's not such an easy position to play because you also don't know where to develop, right? Because if you develop here, it's a bit passive, but if you develop here, then you get forked, which is crazy. But then if you develop here, you're kind of also, again, you're blocking your own pawn. So it's not so easy for black in this position. Oh, but he just gets forked now. Yeah, that's just a fork. He just gets forked. Yeah, we just take. If he tries to go here, there is literally nothing there. Because again, this square is defended by the bishop, as it always has been, so we can literally just go here, and there's nothing. In fact, the knight also defends this square, so there quite virtually is nothing and never was anything. So we're just gonna go here, so that we can move the queen with check to this square, and that our knight doesn't get taken after we do that. He plays this, but I think we just take. Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So technically one of these two has to stay behind to defend the square. But takes, and we're just winning. Because if takes, we just take. Right, so... Now the fact of the matter is we just take. And And the important thing here is that if he tries to pile pressure, we literally just push f4, and now he can't take our bishop because there's no pawn to kick our bishop away, because our queen is behind that bishop, right? We can't actually defend this bishop with our queen because we're gonna lose our queen if we trade it for the rook. But this f4 move just defends our bishop, and now our bishop is one of the most solid things in the position. We're up 2 pieces, and this should just be game over. This 1700 didn't really play so well, but yeah. Although, to be fair, it happens to all of us. So now there's this f4, and after f4, I'm just very happy in this position. In fact, after f4, if he tries to go here, I can even literally just ignore that and move my rook over to start attacking the king as well. Because this bishop is a monster. Look at how many squares it controls in the opponent's position. Because, like, if you use your mind and divide this board into 2 halves, black's half and white's half, my bishop is controlling all these squares in black's territory. And the king is restricted because of that. The rooks are restricted because they can't go there, right? It's a bit more difficult for black, and this is just overall winning. I'm up 2 entire pieces. I'm going to trade off the pieces, and I'm going to win because I'm going to be up more material at the end of the day. Because he has a pawn for 2 of my pieces, which is not winning in any world unless I'm playing Magnus Carlsen, but I'm not. But yeah, so because I developed my pieces, right, I was able to develop my pieces and get them into the game. It's also right now even very hard for black to make improving moves. Here I just trade, right, and this queen isn't really doing much. Black's dream would be if his rook could get like here somehow, because then he can actually start trying to attack. But even then, my queen comes back to defend everything, and there's no repetition. For example, let's say the rook was over here, check, here, take, here, here. There's already no more checks. And you have to remember, this rook came here, so there's nothing there. But yeah, black just has nothing in this position much. What they can do is they can go here and try to stack. But then again, my f4 idea just stops all of that, because f4 just defends the bishop. And if he tries to go here, again, we have moves like this to pin the pawn to the king. Or we can even, again, bring the rook up to target the queen and try to bring it here. I don't know if he's stalling or if he's genuinely thinking, but it's been quite a while since the last move. Right? Is he even online? I don't know what he's doing. Typically if you spend this much time on a move, either it's a really complicated position or you're stalling, but this position isn't quite complicated. But it's okay, we'll wait. And while we're waiting, yeah, let's just go through the principles again. The main principles that we need to remember, always remember, is that in the opening, we're supposed to develop our pieces. We're supposed to, yeah, because you can see here, developing our pieces is very important. But first, yeah, we did control the center first, because it's at the starting moves. For the starting moves, it's easier to move our pawns to control the center, and that also opens up our bishops for future development, right? But yeah, then we developed our pieces. We remained in control of the center, kept adequate control over it. We continued to develop. We castled our king. Then we did unfortunately blunder this, which isn't really a blunder because we do get our pawn back and kick out the queen with tempo, but it is probably considered a blunder for allowing that to happen, so it is kind of a blunder. But then we just continued to develop. This part wasn't really developing, but this was to stop the bishop from coming in. Oh, he resigned. Okay. Well, there you go. Let's review this game and go through it once, and then, yeah. But as I was saying, that move back there, right? This little h3, it's just to stop the bishop from coming here. So now black
Some
has
good
less ideas
positional
of
play
developing
let
the
you
bishop,
seize
so the
the
bishop
advantage
can't
in the
develop
middle
to this
game.
square and pin the knight, which would be quite annoying. But yeah. Yeah, positional play.
Opening with the king's pawn
So
controls the center and opens up the light square.
we develop our pawn, take control of the center. He attacks our pawn, we defend it. Then we continue developing our pieces. Castle, castle. This apparently is also actually a book move, but yeah. So it's not actually a blunder. Castling is, yeah. So that happens. Apparently I'm supposed to move the bishop back. I do understand though, because the bishop is typically better than a knight. So you'd want to let them take and then take with the bishop. So you keep your bishop. Right? And then I move back with tempo, but developing the rook was better here. Yeah, again, it's better to... 9 times out of 10, it's better to make a forward move than a backwards move. This knight move is kind of a backwards move, while this rook move is kind of a forwards move, because you're starting to do more things rather than running away or going backwards. But queen h5 is an inaccuracy as expected. And yeah, h3 is the best move here, see? Because the idea is that this number 1 stops the bishop pin, and number 2, it's also a loft for the king in case there's any future back rank threats in the endgame. But also this does helps to overall improve the structure and defend yourself from black's attacks in the future. And yeah, move in case it is attacked. The follow up here is some random line, yeah. And then this is apparently a mistake. So apparently that wasn't the best move. The best move was instead to move the rook to the center. But I would say that these two moves are roughly the same because both of them develop a piece. But yeah. So we develops the knight. Then we developed our queen, which was apparently a bad move. Computer wants a4 because a4 stops any advancement from black. So for example, let's say that if we played a4, this no longer is an option because we just take and we're just up. Right? Okay, this... Wait, no. Oh, this is a blunder. My bad. The queen spots this. But yeah, we just take and now, yeah, we're just fine. Right? So this is just fine apparently. And also, like, black doesn't really get to control the space because I'm assuming maybe if something like here and then like here, this is maybe advantageous, but I don't know. Because it's a bit hard to understand these computer ideas even for me. Right, so I don't really understand. But yeah, he defends the pawn. And then I develop my rook to the center. And then I develop my other rook. And now I'm basically waiting for black to do something. I'm saying, why don't you try to do something? But then black immediately makes a mistake because bishop f5 is an inaccuracy. I just fork. But apparently this is a risky move. I'm not quite sure why. But I think maybe the idea is supposed to be that you're supposed to take with a knight. Yep. So you take with a knight. And what this does is now after this and... queen takes or bishop takes, I think both work, but bishop takes should be the winning idea. Because the thing is, if I try to come here and defend, check, and I have to move down, and then takes, and then I'm getting mated actually, so I have to sack. So I'm completely losing. Right, so again, just to explain, the reason knight takes works is because after this, the pin from the bishop is too strong. I can't actually defend this properly. I can try to defend with like this, right? But now this position is very uncomfortable because my king is open, the pawns are missing, and black is going to try and bring some pieces to continue to attack my king in the future. And this pressure continues to exist, right? It's not very easy for me. And then if you ask for the follow-up, yeah, apparently, yeah, black wings rooks and is going to start to try and attack somehow. And this is just not very easy to deal with either. But instead, we have queen takes here, which is a blunder. Or a mistake rather, because this just straight up gives up the bishop for no attack because you don't actually get any attack, right? And then I just take, it brings the knight, but I can just take the pawn because this knight doesn't threaten anything. These squares are defended by my bishop and my knight and my queen and the king as well. Right, so then I bring my bishop back, which isn't exactly the best move because Stockfish wants this. And I understand the idea was to pin the knight, but what I worried about here was like the queen is gonna take my knight in the future. But then I forgot that I actually had the tempo, right? Because it's my move when after black moves the king away, so I forgot about that. So yes, that is probably the better move, to give a check with tempo and pin the knight to the queen so that the queen can't actually... the knight can't move anywhere basically, except like here I guess, but it's not black's move anyway. and then the queen also is hanging behind the knight. If this knight ever moves, I win the queen, and therefore the queen or the knight has to move in a way that neither piece is hanged, and that usually takes up a tempo, takes some time. So I gain time on my opponent. Right. So but I play bishop back instead, and then I just decide, you know, this works. Apparently e5, this loses the queen. Let's check out the line. Oh, the queen's trapped, apparently. But okay, because if the queen goes here, there's fork, right? In fact, that's actually like smothered mate. So for those who don't see it, check here, 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 and that's mate. Right, smothered mate. And if the queen goes here, yeah, it's also smothered mate. So that the reason is because of smothered mate. That's why they have to sack. But yeah, we play this version instead, and we just win another piece, and we're comfortably up. Right? So yeah. This is how to play chess, how to win at chess, and how to use the beginner principles to your advantage. I'll be uploading another video soon as well, a follow-up video for more examples so that you guys can learn from them. And with that, thank you for staying and watching, and I'll see you soon.